So.
Okay. Alrighty, so it says we're live. I'm just going to check YouTube. There is always a slight delay, but.
Yeah, I'm seeing it. It just
okay. Perfect. Thank you. All right. Well, hello, everyone. The mayors of Hoe Valley are here with Katee Robert.
Thank you for having me.
The master of kink, you know, the queen of poly.
Yes, all of that.
I have a lot of fun.
Honestly, B will be here shortly. But yeah, honestly, like reading my first book that I read by you was Desperate Measures, and I was never into Daddy Kink, but then that book made me like Daddy Kink, so thank you.
To be fair, I was not into Daddy Kink before I wrote that book either. I had said publicly that it would be a Daddy Kink book, and then I started writing it and I almost chickened out, but I was like, oh no, I promised Daddy Kink, so I guess I have to be okay with it and figure it out. And now I write those books all the time.
Well, you delivered, so.
Yes. Bee's here. Hi, Bee.
Hi. Hi, Katee. Oh my God. Okay. A little bit. Sorry. Okay. Good. We're here. We're here.
I know. I love how we all have to just fan a second and then, okay, you're here. Hi. I'm seriously sweating before I got on here. I was I feel like I'm going to throw up.
Don't do that.
Wait, what was the icebreaker?
We have not discussed icebreaker yet. So, T, if you would like to do the honors.
I don't have anything.
Yes, you do.
I don't. I guess I'm unprepared today.
You are the freakiest one out of all of us, and you don't have an icebreaker.
I'm not. What? When did I get that title? What is going on here?
Yeah.
So, Katee.
Okay, fine. I'll do an icebreaker. What is the #1 fantasy you have? It could be anything, any fantastical setting, anything.
Listen. Okay, so fantastical setting. I could really get down with some monster boning. True monster. Not just dudes with wings or horns. Full on. Yeah, I could get down with that.
I like it. I like it.
No, we've been talking about that in the chat. Let me tell you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was it the commission piece you got done with the monster sea dude with the tail with the 2 penises?
The tentacle. Oh yeah. So I had 2. I have one with a dragon with the hemipene and one with a tentacle dude he utilized all those tentacles. So I'm very excited to write that series.
That was so
if you
hot.
have them, use them.
Hot.
Seriously, why have all those tentacles if you don't use them to your advantage?
Right.
Cole and I have talked about this.
Yes.
And that's what I told the artist. I was I would like some tentacles. I was but I for bondage and or penetration. You should utilize these things. And she did the damn thing. So I'm very excited.
Yeah.
She did it. Oh yeah, it's use those tentacles. I want one around my throat. I want one holding my hand. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Not holding your hand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I want edges everywhere.
What's the point if they're not fully if it's not a fully immersive experience?
Exactly.
I want to pass out and think I've died. That's how much tentacle usage I want to ascend.
Yes.
Not ascend.
Yes, girl. Take me to heaven or hell, whichever one you choose, honey.
I'm not mad at it.
Yes, take me to heaven, hell, anywhere. Just make sure I'm just not conscious by the end of it.
Right. Exactly.
Do you have a favorite book that involves monster fucking?
So my favorite to date is probably Jack Harbin's His Beauty, just because it's one of the
that one.
I imprinted on monsters early because I read Laurel K. Hamilton's the fairy books, because there's tentacles and stuff in those ones. But Jack Harbin, just how he retold Beauty and the Beast, which is my favorite fairy tale, and like did it in the way that I was like, oh, this is what I always wanted as a young child who didn't understand things. And like it just was like the perfect story of like in monsters and like the perfect amount of monster and that that book like makes my heart so happy.
Like seriously, like watching Beauty and the Beast, I wasn't the only one who, when he turned back into a person, I was like, oh,
like that's it.
Well, and even Belle, like the look on her face is like,
I guess that's not what I signed up for, but okay.
Wait. I'm like, what as soon as he turned around?
As soon as he turned around, I was like, his nose is way too big, nostrils. What are you doing?
Right.
Not nostrils.
Well, my blue eyes are attractive in like the monster, but like on the man face, he's very serial killery. Like it's not right.
Yes.
His eyes are all wide open, like nostrils flaring. Oh, this is Bree. Bree is just like dipping into romance. So I love how we were just into the monster smut right away. Tentacle fucking.
Somebody a while back was like, I'm reading my first dark romance and it's Desperate Measures, and I was like, no, don't do it. Go back, turn around, come back, have a couple more books.
Oh, we're gonna talk about Desperate Measures, honey, because my friend Crystal was reading it, and I was like, Jafar, Jasmine retelling, okay, whatever. Then I'm like, I heard Nicole talk about it. I was okay, let me get into this. And then like when Jafar told her to run and then she could leave in the beginning, and he caught her by the braid, I was like, I'm living. Like he just yanked her up in the hallway. Let's go.
This is it.
Virginity in the hallway.
Yeah.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yes, he did, honey. Yes, he did.
That was hot.
I shocked myself with that book. I was like, oh, and I kept texting Jenny Norback from Wicked Wallflowers Club and being like, am I too far? Is it too far? And she's like my green light. She's like, no, keep going. It's great. It's not too much.
Right on track. It's not too much. It's not enough. Keep going.
Right.
No, literally someone was like, it's pretty dark, so be careful. So I'm like, okay, like let me prepare myself. And I'm like, I want this. Where can I buy some? Please. Are they doing this?
Oh,
yeah, in hindsight, I don't know that I would have started the series with that book just because it's like 0 to 60 in like half a chapter.
That's the perfect way to do it. That's the perfect way to do it. Honestly.
Yeah, it is. I loved it. Loved it. It's like, yes, we're starting right away. Who needs all like the like introduction and getting to know you? No, if you're not banging chapter 1,
right here. Bust it down. Let's go. Right in this hallway.
Okay, favorite chapter though. Sorry, I'm gushing because that was like one of my favorite. This one I was like, I'm a Katee Robert stan because I just read Your Dad Will Do, which we will also get into.
Yeah.
My favorite part in Desperate Measures was when he told Jasmine to be naked, kneeling at the door when he got home. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm into this shit. And then he got up, like she was like, I'm not gonna do this. And he walks in the door and chokes her up. I was screaming on the TV, like I was at work putting shipment away. I'm like, guys, listen to what just happened in this book, please. Like, I need to talk to someone about this. I was like, I'm hooked. I'm sold. Yes, everything.
So I know that we all enjoy Desperate Measures, but personally, my favorite is A Worthy Opponent because I have been a Tinkerbell stan for forever. So to give me Tinkerbell and Hook, and then you give me Bondage, and then you also give me like, he's a very giving partner with all of these people breaking her in, and like it was levels to that, and I appreciated that. So my question is, out of the Wicked Villains series, like which one is your favorite?
So my favorite is the Beast, just because I love the messiness of those and how they can't have a conversation unless somebody's naked, and I love like. I'm a sucker for reunited lovers, especially if it's reunited lovers and like that level of mess and the humiliation kink of sorts that they kind of messed around with. Like it was a very enlightening book for me. And I was like, oh, I feel like every book in that series, I was like, am I allowed to do this? I don't know, but I'm going to do it and we're going to find out. And that book was just like I had to like walk some laps around my house because I was like, dear God.
Yeah, I think I frequently have to put the book down and be like, okay, let me, Okay, let's pick it back up now because it's just like each one just adds a new level. And so like in the Beast, when they literally like we get this whole build up through the first three, like where they hate each other. Beast and they just hate each other. So when we got to that book, I was like, oh, we're gonna be hate fucking. This is what I signed up for. Okay.
Well, like this. My editor pointed out when they were going through it, they're like, this sort of homoerotic, like using her to taunt each other is like something that has happened a lot in other books, like historically in romance. They're like, but the fact that they hook up, like, and accumulate that like homoerotic tension is like very satisfying. And I was like, yes, because I loved reading that like back in the day, and I want the swords to cross. So yeah, they will always cross in my books.
And they call sword cross guarantee. Yeah, I loved it.
Yes, sword cross guarantee. I love that. Like, oh my gosh, my favorite is actually
the inspiration behind the whole series.
So it started like. I'm a fairy tale fanatic. Like if I wasn't a college dropout and had went on to like, you know, got my master's and whatnot, I would have written my thesis on like fairy tales and how they shift as they're told by like the societies that are telling them and the cultures that are telling them. And like I have sleeves and it's a whole thing. But when the live action movies started coming out, there was like that extra level of like inspiration that's like seeing real people. And I was like, oh. And like I've always loved villains, and it actually started as in the Wicked Wallflower Club, like the Facebook group, like just off the cuff, and we're BSing about Jafar, and I was like, oh yeah, Jafar is a daddy dom, and and then it just like spiraled, and from there I was like, I think I'm gonna write these books, like I think I'm gonna do it, and then I did, and so it kind of was me taking my favorite fairy tales and twisting them in my tilt.
Well, it's amazing. It's amazing. Nicole, what were you gonna say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say that my favorite book in that series was Learn My Lesson. I love Hades, Meg, and Hercules. I just love their story, and the fact that Hades was just using that to piss Zeus off. I loved it. I loved it so much.
I mean, is it not a reasonable thing to be like, oh, the spark's out of our relationship, I guess we're going to bring in a himbo to like spice things up? Like,
and Hercules is definitely a himbo.
Oh, 100%.
For sure.
Yes, he is.
I find him so aggravating. Like, not at times just because he's so like charge in first and ask questions never, and like it's like, no, sir, calm down. Nobody asked for this.
Yeah,
he really is.
That's what I thought. In the Sea Witch, I was like, Hercules, mind your business. Get down.
Right. I know. He always wanted to save somebody, and I'm just like, just stop.
Like, I learned my lesson when he was like, yeah, I just like sold my contract for you, and Meg was like, you think I'm leaving this dick? Okay, well now you're stuck with us. Congratulations.
Yeah, she's like, you idiot.
Right, like, cute, but thanks.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We have a question. Himbo.
Yeah, himbo is like, I guess the term's like vaguely problematic because bimbo has negative connotations, but himbo is basically like a really attractive dude who's like not dumb, but maybe not, like he's just very idealistic and like just loves the people and like wants to take care of the people, and just kind of like Kronk is a himbo. Yeah. Hercules is a himbo. Brendan Fraser in The Mummy is a himbo. Like they're not incapable. They're just kind of, it's like that big supportive energy. like a golden retriever.
A golden retriever.
Yeah. Good dick.
Yeah.
Good dick. Yes.
So how big was Hercules' dick? Because like the descriptions, it sounded like he was demolishing some walls. So I was just...
So I don't ever specify either dick size or personal grooming habits of anybody, because everybody has their own preferences. And I once read a book where they're like, oh, like the 12-inch whatever, and I was like, oh, that's too big, I don't like that. and I don't ever want that for my readers, so like I kind of let people fill in the blanks on like whatever their personal preference is on those levels is what that is. That's how big it was. It's as big as you want it to be. So
what? So everybody doesn't prefer a big ass dick?
Well, there's such a thing as too big for like all the activities that you want to mess around with, and you know everybody's built a little different.
Right.
That's like a baby arm,
like a big ass stick. So I get it. You know, like that would be uncomfortable. Yeah.
You like a challenge though.
It was like our prompt, like, you know, your guts being rearranged like a home makeover, you know.
I was just so curious.
Yeah, just it's as big as you want it to be is the answer.
Yeah, 15, like the book 15 inches, that was an experience for sure.
That was a lot that Nicole had me reading. That was a lot.
I'm pretty sure I had like 10 people read that book. I'm like, here, read it.
Well, they're like logistics that you have to consider when you get like into some of these large sizes. So it's yeah.
So we're saying we don't want intestinal perforation. Is that what the consensus is?
I mean, I don't want an episiotomy from having sex.
I mean,
it would be a fun story to tell, though.
Right?
Yes.
I did read a book many, many years ago that had like, it was like, that had her with a bunch of different dudes, and they talked about tearing, and I'm like, no, I don't want that in my fiction. Like, no. I'm escapism. I don't want the realities of sex to ever come into, like, no, thank you.
What was this book?
Oh, Jesus. I don't have it anymore. It was like a Snow White. I'll look it up and see if I can find it. It's probably out of print now because I found it in like my 15 years ago, and I had originally found this author because the first book I read by her was this woman who like auditioned to be like the sexual plaything for like this dude for a period of like 5 weeks for money. But then all the dude and his cousins and all his friends like all liked her best, so she ended up being the person for all of them in this house for this period of time.
Oh,
I'll find it. I'll tweet.
Yeah.
It was by the same author.
That sounds
but
like
just
something that I would read.
Let me just say it imprinted on me. I probably read it. I was just like, what? Like, I didn't know books could be like this. And yeah.
Sounds like a good time too.
Yeah, that one was really good, but the other one, it was kind of like Snow White and the something, but it was like a little too real that I was like, no, I don't want to talk about injuries. That's not what I want.
Is there a Snow White book? I haven't gotten that far into the Wicked Villain series.
No, not in mine, no.
No, will you be making one? Because Snow White fucking the Seven Dwarfs sounds like something I could get into.
You know what? That would be really good.
I don't have plans at this juncture. I may return to it. We'll see. We'll see. That's all I'll say. No promises.
It's not enough.
That's a lot of people, though. That's a lot of people to
they could all
juggle.
go many mansion, and then they could have their own rooms, and then she could just go to everybody's room, and everybody just have a specific thing that they're good at, and then she'll be like, yes.
So many limbs, especially if you get like, you know, a few in a scene together. That's so many limbs to keep track of.
It would be a challenge, that's for certain. We're gonna put a pin in it. We'll circle back, maybe.
You gotta bring
that's what the Barbie dolls are for.
Yeah, you gotta bring your Barbies out.
I'd have to buy some more Barbies for that. Like, I only have like 4.
How did you get the idea? Like, what made you decide to go, let me buy some Barbies and just kind of see how this works?
Honestly, it's genius.
Well, I was a big Barbie girl as a child, and also up kind of into bondage. I guess I used to have my Barbies up all the time. So like, it's an ongoing joke in my family of like, but when I was writing, I think it was Learn My Lesson. I was like, or at some point, one of the Menage books, I was like, I don't know how this scene would work. Like, And I remembered that some of the Barbies are bendy, so I like did some Googling and found the ones that are bendy and was like, well, this would be a great, because I was like, I'll get the art ones, but they are not quite the same thing and they're more expensive. So I was like, I'll just get Barbies. Barbies will work. And then it was like funny, so it just like worked out really well.
I love Malia's comment here. I'd be happy, dopey, and horny.
Listen, you got that right.
So true. Hi, Gab. And Love Desperate Measures. Jafar was so hot. Currently diving into more of your books.
Thank you.
I love how we all agree that Jafar is just daddy, period.
Mm-hmm.
I think that book is also the most I think he's the most villainous out of all of them. I think I kind of tamed it up a little bit in the later books, or they're villainous in like less overt ways. But yeah, no, he was definitely he went for it.
Who was the narrator? Because his voice was just perfect.
Jack Callahan is the narrator. He does a few of my. I think he was also Beast.
Okay.
And I know, and he's also did my book Abel.
Oh,
I liked him. He just had this gritty voice, but then he was sexy too. So it was like, is this how Jafar sound in real life? I was just thinking in my head, like, I would like this.
I hope Jasmine can fight because I'm ready to go to war. Like, listen,
she can. Like, she'll cut somebody. Apparently,
let's go.
B.
I'm ready. Y'all, I am not playing Jafar. And he was like, when he got to like the penthouse and all the cameras, he was talking like all the security he had and the people and the way everyone just like bent to as well. I was like, I could bend some ways too if you need me to. Like, I'm available if you want it.
Oh my gosh.
I'm serious.
Speaking of Abel, that hate sex that's in that book, thank you. Because so here's the thing. I once again, Katie, literally, you have like shattered all of my boundaries because I'm like, yeah, I love enemies to lovers, but hate fucking, what's that? Why would And then Abel shoved his dick down a throat, and I was like, oh, yep, this is it right here. This is me.
That has merits.
Again, every time at this point I don't do breaks because every time I'm like, I think I went too far. Somebody's like, that was my favorite part of the book. I didn't know I was into that, and so it's kind of shown me that at least my limits so far match other people's, so it's fine. So, but yeah, that was my first foray into true hate fucking, and it was fun.
It held up. Like, and I need to collect my thoughts because that
she said just thinking about it.
Broderick and Abel, like those two books really like are on a different level for me.
There's a level of like civility that's kind of been peeled away with those books that it's like it allows for a little bit more
The group sex in A Worthy Opponent, like just all the descriptions. I was getting overwhelmed too, listening to it. I'm like, I don't even know how Tink is doing this. Because then Hook would touch her and ground her. And I'm like, bitch, like, what am I supposed to do over here listening to this? Like, can someone help me? Like, the way it was written was just like the pacing, the sex, the characterization, the sex. It was just great.
The sex.
The sex.
I mean, the ultimate wedding gift. Like,
gosh, like I needed to compose myself. Oh my gosh. It's like, if I need a break, I know Tink needs a break.
Yes, girl.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
Yes, Katie makes sex hot. Very hot. Very hot.
Honestly, Katie makes any sex hot. Like, honestly.
I can agree with that because the sex, yeah, it's really hot. I think my first book was gifting me to his best friend. And I'm gonna honestly say, and I'm not even ashamed, I was so aroused reading that book. It was hot as fuck.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, all the Taboo series books are like inspired by stuff that's been sitting in the back of my head for a really long time, of like a scene from a book I read or like a character or something. Like Gifting Me to His Best Friend is inspired by there's a scene in a Megan Hart book, and I can't remember the title off the top of my head, but like I don't even think I finished it. There's just this one scene where he has friends there and he's kind of like messing with her under a blanket and she's just like, wait, what's happening? And I was like, well, obviously the friends should be involved. Obviously, like, this should be a thing that happens, and obviously the swords should cross and they should all end up together happy. It's perfect. And so, yeah, so that's the book that showed up.
Oh, I loved it. It's like, because you feel like you have these, I just love when everybody gets their chance to play. Like, it's just not the two guys having sex with the woman. I want them to have sex with each other. So I want everybody to dip in the pool. Like, we all putting our toe in there. Yeah. Like, everybody having fun. I love that shit. Like, for real.
And they were resisting it so much. And I was like, y'all know y'all want to do this. Y'all know y'all want to do this.
Right. But it's like that. I'm not a big friends to lovers. Like, I can, some authors, like, I really enjoy it, but as a general whole, it's not a big draw for me. But it was fun to play with that. Like, well, but it really will mess up our friendship. But also, like, you're banging my wife, so I guess we'll bang too. Like,
and I had the potential, you know, it's like they were thinking it too in the book. Like, this has the potential to just, like, blow up in our faces and end friendships, but also, like, we could be really happy, like, all together.
Do you, like, black out when you're writing these novels and, like, you wake up and you're like, what the fuck did I just write? And you just, like, send it in?
I definitely did with Your Dad Will Do, pretty much. Like, that book was like 5 or 6 days of writing. I was like, what? I don't even know what I put in this book. Like, I had to go back and, like, read it and be like, oh, all right.
Hat shit.
Like,
that's what you put in it. Hat shit.
Iconic.
Yeah.
Truly.
Listen, I read Nikki Sloan's Filthy Rich American series, and, like, the sort of villainous sort in the first 3 books is the father-in-law, and I was like, I'm rooting for the am I into father-in-law stuff? Like, I didn't think I was, but you've convinced me single-handedly with this series. And I was, like, kind of like, I mean, he gets his book in book 4 with somebody else, but, like, I was a little bit peeved. I'm like, pick the father-in-law. He's way better than, like, your man. Like, dude, date his dad. And so that, like, accumulated into this, like, me just, like, like, Your Dad Will Do in, like, a very short period of time. Because I was like, oh, I guess I am into father-in-law stuff. We're going to do it.
That line where she's like, well, I guess you're not the only one calling him daddy now.
Oh my God.
Let me just go ahead and spread my legs.
I can't even take credit for that because
oh my God.
Actually, Sarah Hawley, the other host of Wicked Wallflower Club, she put that in a comment, like, when I was just, like, doing this, like, I'm not going to write this book, but if I did, and then she put that, and I was like, can I use that line? Because that line is so good. Like, oh my God. So
good. I had to put the book down. I was like, she went there, and I love it.
Yes.
Exactly. Mic drop.
Are there any taboos, like, that you don't think you would touch? Because, like, you have Seducing My Guardian, which I did not. I've already learned I'm just going to trust you, whatever you put out. But if somebody else had been like, oh, I'm going to write a book, and somebody who is a guardian is going to end up having sex with their ward, I'd be like, what are you talking about? That's no. And yet.
It's a tricky one. You'll never see a step sibling or step parent or step anything for me. Like, that's not my kink. I respect everybody whose kink that is, but it's just not for me. Other than that, I don't know. I don't, like, because every time I'm like, no, I don't think I'm into that. Like, something will happen and somebody will prove me wrong. And I'll be like, oh, you just need, like, a little massage. Like, the teacher student is not, or professor student is not, like, a big thing for me. But I might do it as Kat Taylor, because it's like the power dynamics are problematic enough that it's like, I don't know how I could pull that off in an HEA. But for erotica, I could, because you don't need the HEA. You can just tell the dirty story and then they both move on happily. But yeah, there's a couple that I'm like, and you won't see a priest book for me.
No.
Just,
well,
I'm not.
Why? Is there a reason why?
I'm not, I wasn't raised Catholic, and it's not, like, I love Priest by Sierra Simone. Like, I love that book, like, an unholy amount, but it's not, and also Tiffany Rice's books, like Soren, but it's not something that I feel that I could pull off on the same level or want to necessarily. Like, I like reading it. I don't know that I want to write it, because there's, like, stuff that I can't quite divorce, like, in my head for it. Whereas when I'm just reading as a consumer and like just as a reader, I can immerse myself. But like when you're writing it, there's like more stuff to consider that I'm like, I can't get as into it because I have to think about the implications.
Mm-hmm.
I have this like fantasy of you writing. Like if you're not going to write about a priest, like I have this fantasy of you writing about like a girl like battling her way through the 7 levels of hell to get to the devil and fuck him. But like,
I mean,
like, fucking people along.
Listen, I'm not saying that there is like a thought in my head of like retelling Bible stories in the dirty way that they were always meant to be told, but I'm just saying it's like on my list of things eventually. And fucking the devil is, frankly.
You'll get my money.
Nas X video inspiration where he's taking the pole down, and it could start from there. Like, boom.
That, like, I watched that video and I was like, I'm just, like I said, I'm just going to write myself a note and we're going to circle back to it when I have some time.
Write myself. Pin it. We'll come back.
Yes.
Have you, I don't know how much YA you write, but have you ever read Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco?
No.
Okay, well, essentially there is a trope of like the deadly sins. Would you ever write anything like that involving like each person being a sin?
Yes, I actually, yes, short answer, yes. I love the 7 deadly sins, again, to an unholy amount. And so it's one of those things that I like keep circling around, but I haven't quite hit the right project for it yet. Yes, one of my monster romances. The first one is a dragon.
I love dragons.
Yeah. Like the premise of this world is that they, like, humans used to be able to cross over into this realm more frequently, but they haven't in a long time. So all the monsters can morph into humanoid, but they can't fully human it up. So they are, he's also a dragon. He's also a dragon shifter, but he's not like a full on like man. When he's in man form, he's got scales and tails and
Tails and
what about mermaids?
My thing with mermaids is that they are inherently terrifying to me. So if I wrote mermaids, it would be horror.
The mermaids on Harry Potter, because those things were child.
So Myra Grant has 2 books that deal with mermaids, and she is just sciencey enough that I'm like, yeah, I believe it. Seems legit. Like those books are really great, but they are kind of scary.
Very scary.
I love mermaids.
So it seems like with your books too, you are kind of, you have obviously the romance down, and then you have, your erotic, Cat Taylor. And is there any genre like you won't do? Like you said, maybe if you write mermaids, it would be a horror. Like, is there a horror book from you in our future? Or
I would like to, but right now, not currently. I had actually pitched my agent, and there was it was kind of like, well, we could, but like there's some barriers in the way to that. And then, which she was right. And I'm not really willing to do it indie at this point, but there is probably horror in the future. I don't think I'll write YA. I have in the past, nothing published. But I'm at the point in life where like I can read some YA, but I also get like really stressed out for the children. And so I don't think I'll be writing YA. Okay. But other than that, you never know what'll catch my fancy.
Anything's fair game.
Yeah. Like I'm going to write a fantasy next. It's been sitting in my head for like 8 years, and I'm going to do the damn thing. So I'm very excited.
I'm excited.
Ooh, fantasy.
Yes.
Okay. Earlier you said friends to lovers isn't your favorite trope. What is your favorite trope?
I love enemies to lovers, and I also love
flavor.
Yes. And I love morality chain, which is like one person is like has no morals to speak of, and like it's like, all right, I guess I won't like murder up all these people because it would make you sad. Like, fine. Like that's like my favorite thing in the entire world.
Well, okay.
like Nalini Singh's Hearts of Obsidian is like textbook morality chain.
Yes.
And Kennedy Ryan's Block Shot is like Jared is. Yes. So I love that trope. It exists out there, but it's not commonly like called that. So when I find it, I get very excited.
Interesting. I've never read a book with that trope before, so I'll be stalking your Twitter for when you post about it.
Okay.
Did you always know that you were going to be like this romance erotica titan? Like, did you ever think that you were going to write this genre?
I once I started like firmly getting published, I was like, oh yeah, I like romance because I like the happily ever after. I like that. But for a very long time early in my career, there was like a lot of being told no, like you can't write this, you can't write that, it has to fit in this. If you know, nobody wants this thing that you want to write. And so I learned otherwise because like I sold my mob series and the heroine like shoots the hero in the first chapter, and that should not have worked, but it did. But in like 2018, like kind of the market turned to like romantic comedy, and like that's not my gig. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of like voices in my head of like, oh, like, you know, you really think you can do this? And so like going indie and having no one to tell me not to write something because it's not marketable, mm-hmm. like was so freeing, because it's like, oh, look, the things I want to write, there's a total audience for, and you know, I'm very appreciative. And it's just like, it seems like by writing as fearlessly as possible, it's resonated on a level that my stuff hasn't up to this point, because it's so like, you know, either people love it or hate it, and that's okay, but I'd rather have those strong emotions than like, it was all right. And so that's kind of, as long as I feel, you know, I like to push myself, and so this is where we've ended up.
Oh, he has this question.
Oh, okay. So if you want like mafia type stuff, I would start with the marriage contract. If you want high heat and like low plot, low character, I would start with the Taboo series. Probably Your Dad Will Do. If you're familiar with dark romance and feel comfortable with dark romance, I would start with Desperate Measures. And if you like vampires with orgasmic bites, start with Sacrifice.
Yes.
Those orgasmic bites and those claws.
Oh my gosh. I just can't wait for Queen. I just can't wait for Queen.
I know. It keeps getting moved around the schedule, but it is coming. I promise.
Oh my god.
And she will
that
be too.
Series. The orgasmic bites.
I feel like Sacrifice and Air, they really teeter that line of like kind of gory and slightly depraved, but like it works. Like blood play, like really, yes. Whitney, you're into this? Okay, let's get going.
You know, like my like author brand or whatever is Bonkers as F, and Bonkers and Paranormal is a completely different ball game than in contemporary. I was like, oh, I was like, well, I guess, you know, nobody, like I said, nobody's telling me no, so we're just gonna go for it. And then somebody edits it at some point, but they're like vibed up with me. So if they tell me it's too far or something, then I know I've really gone too far, but it hasn't happened yet. So
my screen was just everyone gasping. Yes.
Because those books are so good. That's a great book to start with, Gabby. Like Sacrifice being your first book, like,
oh yeah.
Way to jump in.
I know, I was like on the deep end.
I know. There's no like, you know, there's no just like wading in, getting used to the water. No, dive on it.
Yeah, I had to be careful with the content warnings on that. I don't think they're on draft to digital because they kicked it back and they're like, no, we're not going to publish this book. And I was like, listen, it's not underage and it's not bestiality. Leave me alone. And they're like, no. And so I had to take the content warnings off the blurb on draft to digital because they're like, no, we're not going to do this. It's like, oh my. It's not as bad as some of the stuff out there. Right. I'm just trying to give people heads up.
Yeah, have you read The Vipers at all?
So I didn't think I had lines, but then I read a few chapters of Den of Vipers, and I like the voice was fine. I like the voice, but I discovered I do in fact have lines, and Diesel is a line for me, and it's not for me. And then I read all the reviews and went and like searched and read some passages, and I was like, I mean, that book sold a gajillion copies, so it really resonates. But I was like, oh, this is a little bit too much for me. Like, huh? And it was kind of like reassuring. Like, I do have lines. Go me. Like,
yeah, that whole putting a knife there and
the stabby.
That totally, was a lot.
He totally got off on getting stabbed. I'm like, okay, Diesel.
Well, and as somebody on TikTok said, they're like, non-consensual knife play is just stabbing, and I was like, that's a true fact. Like, that is.
It's true.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I only got a few hundred pages into it, and I was bored. I was like, "Where's the like spicy stuff?" And then Whit was sending me stuff. I'm like, "Okay, this seems like pretty tame for what I've heard." And I've yet to search out passages because I feel like there's a point of no return, and I don't know if I want to hit that yet.
Like, I definitely see why so many people liked it. It was like a weird, like, because you know how certain stuff is like weirdly triggering. You're like, well, I didn't know I'd be triggered by this. And Diesel, for whatever reason, like tripped my wire that I was like, no, thank you. But like, I'm fine with, you know, all sorts of stuff. But it just wasn't for me. I definitely like understand, but it was not for me.
He's just a red flag. Like, he was so fucking weird. I was like, what happened to you, bro? Mine is everything. Like, relax, unclench.
Yeah, he was definitely a step above.
Yes. The names of the books. Okay. The Marriage Contract, Sacrifice, Your Dad Will Do, and Desperate Measures. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I am
Bree, I'll message you. Sorry, I was just gonna say Bree, I'll message you.
So I'm one of those readers who I like to jump in authors' inbox, especially when I'm reading the book. I'm like in your inbox and I'm like, yo, what the fuck is going on? Like, why did this happen? Okay, so I stalk you on Twitter. So I know recently you was talking about TikTok, finding your books. Has anybody from TikTok reached out to you? Like, do you hear from your readers a lot? Like, do people be in your inbox stalking you?
A little bit. Not it, like, I get tagged a lot in TikTok like stuff, and which is kind of awesome to see because all the platforms are very different. Like, there's protocol on Twitter that everybody kind of understands, like you don't tag in negative reviews, and Instagram is the Wild West, you get tagged in everything. But TikTok, so far I haven't been tagged in anything that people being like, what the fuck, which I appreciate because it's not for me. I don't need to know.
They would get jumped, honestly.
Well, but TikTok, the algorithm's too smart, so it's like, oh, you've been talking about this book, would you like to see somebody who hated it? I'm like, no, TikTok, that's not for me. That's not for me. It's okay. But yeah, I've had some people like reach out occasionally, but it's not a ton, which is I'm okay with because I never know what to say. If they're like, I loved your books, I'm like, thank you, I'm gonna cry now, like, high five. Thank you. So but yeah, I do get like interaction pretty regularly.
Okay.
Has anyone told you that like your books weren't for them or anything? Like, have you heard that a lot?
I've had, so not necessary, like I've had a couple people say like to my face like some pretty negative stuff, but
what are their names?
Oh, not to your face.
Not to your, what are their names?
Well, not like to my internet face, but it's just occasionally I'll see something on my timeline, but I'm not tagged in it, so it's not my business. But it's kind of weird to be like, well, I'm not going to engage in this conversation because it's not my business. But also, that feels weird. I don't know. I don't really like that, but that's a me issue. But yeah, I mean, there's people that feel really, really strongly like negatively about us because of the content I write. Like, it is not for everybody, and so it's but it's usually stuff of like, like the normal dark romance critiques of like, oh, you think this is okay? And it's like, well, no, nobody wants to be with a murderer in real life. Like, nobody wants that.
Speak for yourself, whoever that
is. Are you sure?
Listen, like, I want my man to kill for me. Thank you.
I told him, it's like he's a Simon role, but he gets a little like protective, and he said something the other day. I'm like, listen, I did the single mom thing. I can't do that shit again. I need you not to murder up people because like I don't want to have a husband in jail. Like, stop that. And also I don't do well under pressure. If I start getting questioned, I would not hold up super well, I don't think. So
is it
TikTok received you? I'm sorry, go with. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I
was just wondering because we call TikTok the Wild West on book Twitter because book Twitter is kind of leaning towards we know how that is, but has like TikTok been like, oh my god, this is like it.
Yeah, it's TikTok found the Wicked Villain series, and it has been like, it's honestly a little overwhelming. Like, not champagne problems, like, or it's not even a problem. It's just like, because you can see how many people view things, and like knowing that like the hashtag of my name has like 5 million views or some shit, I'm like, that's a lot of people. Like, and they buy like, and like my sales have just skyrocketed because TikTok, because they just buy the entire series in print without reading a single one. And I'm like, what is happening? So they are just, TikTok's very interesting because it feels like a combination of like 2014 Tumblr, I think, like early Tumblr, Tumblr readers, combined with like that 50 Shades wave, where it's a lot of people coming to reading or coming back to reading for the first time in like a long time, or learning that they actually enjoy reading because they're reading books that weren't assigned in high school. And so there's a lot of like enthusiasm, but a lot of the conversations that are being had over there are just from people really new to the genre, or like having a lot of feelings, or like, you know, there's been some like trying to police elements of like your reading or like what you're consuming or what you're spending money on. But I mean, I feel like a lot of those conversations we had 10 years ago. And so it's just that generation having those conversations again.
We do have this question. How did you fall into writing erotica, and what is your writing process like?
So the erotica thing happened because I really wanted to write a cheating book, but I cannot redeem cheating in a romance. Like, I probably could if I tried really hard, but I didn't want to try. And so I just, like, I wanted like I've been under a lot of stress with like the release of like Neon Gods and stuff, and like and so writing is my outlet. And I was like, what if I just wrote like a short, like dirty book that I don't have to provide the happily ever after, so it takes some of the pressure off, and I can just write two awful people being selfish and sexy and like doing something that's pretty unforgivable. And it was funny when I was pitching it, because people were like, oh, like, you're gonna no HEA, it's gonna be so depressing. I'm like, no, it's fine. Like, she goes off and lives her best life. She is fine. It's I mean, she leaves a mess behind her, but like, no one's gonna die. It's just, I don't have to like redeem him in particular, because like, frankly, it's kind of messed up to screw your son's girlfriend. But
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say neither one of them was a horrible person.
They're just messy.
Like, they're just messy. Like, if you're not giving me the orgasms that I deserve and your father is offering them, why would I say no?
I mean,
well, he just seemed like a piece of shit too.
Yeah.
He was not innocent.
No, he seemed like a really, like, especially just unattentive boyfriend, didn't really care about her pleasure at all. Right. So she's like, okay, I'm just gonna move on.
It was a lot of fun, because it felt like almost like, just because like, who didn't have like relationships with people that were just like that, like, especially in the early years, like selfish like that. And it's like, well, what if you just did the thing? Like, what if you just did the thing and you had this like awesome explorative like experience, and now you get to go with that knowledge and like take into your future relationships and maybe advocate for yourself a little bit better. But yeah, the erotica stuff's going to be just like pure, like wearing the taboo. They role play a lot of the stuff that would be more problematic to have like actual content. I'm just going to do the problematic stuff in the erotica because I don't have to redeem it. And that's freeing in a way that I didn't expect. And it's a lot of fun.
What, you were going to ask something a few minutes ago. What were you going to ask?
Oh, I was going to ask, is it weird, or like, has it been kind of like a shock to see the Wicked Villain series like in Barnes and Nobles, just kind of like sitting there staring you in your face?
That series, I get better placement right now, and it's because of Book Talk. Like, honestly, like, it's because Book Talk, and a lot of Barnes and Nobles are being really savvy and having like their Book Talk like end caps or tables or whatever. But I'm getting better placement with that series than I ever did with my traditional books, which is hilarious, because the common knowledge up until relatively recently was like, well, if you go indie, you're never going to see your books in Barnes & Noble, or it's going to be really unlikely. And it's like, well, apparently not anymore, because Barnes & Noble's like catching up. And, you know, it's still not.
Thank God.
Right? Like they're almost relevant at this point. Like, it's actually very exciting. I'm like, go Barnes & Noble. Like,
yeah.
Finally, because
finally.
Oh wow, child.
Wait, so before we talk about Neon Gods, what was your inspiration behind your dabble do? Because like the scene, I'm not gonna ruin anything, but like, you know, like she's orgasming and like someone walks in and they make eye contact. It's like imprinted. in my brain because I was like, yes, bitch, in your face. Look what you just walked into. Like, what was the inspiration behind that?
I think it's just an id list item of like that level of revenge where it's like you see the person that you are like getting revenge on, but you don't stop, and it's like that's how little you are to me. Is I'm just gonna get mine like in the process, and your presence is not going to deter me. Is like, I don't know. Like I said, I wrote that book almost in a fever dream, and so apparently it was a lot of like low key things that I'm super into are in that book. So
no, I was like, I love Daddy Kink. Like I am a Daddy Kink enthusiast, to be honest. And I'm like, let me see what this is about. And then I was like, yeah, sign me up. I need this because the kitchen scene too. I was like, let's go.
I love Daddy Kink. Woo.
That scene where that person walks in, just like I think about that scene on a daily basis.
Yeah, I actually just reread it because when I was writing Katee, I'm like, no, I can't like have recreation of this exact scene, but like, and so I was like, well, what position were they? And I started reading it, and I like read the rest of it, and I was like, oh, okay. Like,
I did that.
Yeah. It's like, damn, ruthless. I had a lot of fun.
But I mean, like the part, like, you know, like the dreaded third act, like breakup or whatever. I was like, girl, you better grab your bag, turn the fuck back around, and get back in there and get naked. And I'm like, we all been here. Listen to what you've been doing. Get back in the house right now.
You're not fooling anybody. You're not fooling anybody.
You'll definitely notice with the rest of the taboo books, the breakup is much shorter duration than it was in that one. I was like, screw being realistic. We're gonna condense this stuff because nobody enjoys the breakup.
But the makeup works though. Like when they break up and they get back together and they start fucking, I like that.
Yeah. The makeup stuff. Yes. All right, so we're getting back up to this question. Greek mythology nerd, I would love to know what was your inspiration for the Neon God series?
I also was a Greek mythology nerd, like back in the day, and it like offended me on a personal level of how many of those stories end tragically, or like somebody's a consolation, or somebody got chopped into pieces, or like that person's murdered, and like all the fuckboys like just prospered, and it. And so.
Sorry, I had something stuck in my throat.
We know what you got stuck in there, honey.
So it kind of like, it made sense to start with Hades and Persephone and then to Psyche and Eros because those two actually end well for like the people involved. But from there, it's complete revisionist history. Like the third one is Achilles, Patroclus, and Helen because they all were done dirty in the Iliad. So I'm going to do it my way. So yeah, that was the inspiration. Is just kind of like taking the stuff and messing with it like how I would have preferred the stories ended.
Okay, that's awesome.
Well, I'm here for the revisionist history because Zeus got way too many happy endings, so I need some joy from other people.
Yeah, Zeus, like Zeus. Suffice to say, it like, and the fun thing about like how I had the world set up with the different titles is I can kind of take on the different iterations of like Zeus, for example, and like, and you know, I'm gonna have a lot of fun with that. So it's yeah, I'm really excited for like how the series is gonna continue.
How did the I guess the theme of each person representing a god, like having like being like a job, how did that come about? Like that was really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I wanted it to be like mostly contemporary, and then I was like, okay, well, like honestly, it was a problem that was created because I already had Hades exist that was from Wicked Villains, and we knew he was from Olympus, and I was like, well, how the hell do I have two Hades? Like, how does that even make sense? And then I was like, well, what if it was like a title? And then I was like, okay, well, if it's a title, then how many would I have? Because there's so many gods. Like, what are we going to condense down? And then when I chose the 13, because 13 is a pretty number, and then it was like each of them inherits a slightly different way. Like we have the legacy titles, of course, of Hades, Poseidon, and Zeus. But then like Demeter is elected, which made sense to me. And Ares is like a ritualistic combat kind of situation is how like his successor is chosen. And Aphrodite is chosen by the person she's succeeding, or they're succeeding, because it's not gender specific. and that's because I wanted a Lady Hermes. Like, so that's like, I was like, nope, not gender specific. It'll give me some freedom like later on to like mess with stuff. And yeah.
So I have a question. So your sex scenes are hot as fuck. Like, we all know that. I just love them. Like, I ain't gonna lie, like my nipples was hard. But that shit is a compliment. Like, if you could get somebody that aroused when they reading your book, that's some good shit. Like, so with that being said, are these sex scenes personal experience?
No.
Or do you just have a vivid imagination?
I have a very vivid imagination, but it's because the sex scenes are so specific to the people or the characters involved that I think there's two main reasons why they work so well. It's part of it's because they're very unique to the characters and like they're what gets them off and like it reveals a lot to me while I'm writing is like the sex scenes reveal like the most to me. And the second is that the hallmark of a good sex scene for me is that I'm vaguely uncomfortable. And I'm wondering if I'm going too far, or I'm shocking myself or just like vaguely scandalized. So like, that's like if like a sex scene doesn't do that, I go back and like fix something because something went wrong. And so, because I'm like, if I'm scandalized, somebody else is going to be scandalized, and hopefully that works for everybody. So
I wasn't scandalized at all, but anyway,
I'm like, scandalize me, do it.
It's just like, oh my god, like I can't believe that just came out of my hands. I'm not sure where that came from, but we're going to ride with it. So like,
no, girl, I had went hostage in the DMs. I was like, thank God I don't wear panties because I'd be changing them too much reading Katie's book. Like, I can't keep doing that. She has me messed up.
And I was like, you know what? That's a fact because I have no shame. This makes you uncomfortable. I'm so sorry, but I have sucked up some draws fucking with your book. So it's a thing.
Listen, laundry is my least favorite chore, so I'm just like, I'm gonna need you to stop because I'm running out of panties. Like, come on.
Just throw them hoes away, honestly.
Yep. Don't even need them.
So you're saying that you don't want to do. So have you ever thought like, okay, I'm writing this sex scene. This shit is bomb. It's hot. I want to try this shit. Like, have you thought like, I want to try this shit I be writing?
No, not so like. I feel like a lot of the sex scenes I write that I find the hottest are much better in fiction. Like menage scenes sound great. I feel like in reality, it's a lot of like, wait, where is your arm gonna go? Like, should we draw a map? Like, oh, is this? There's like too much like thinking, and that's not sexy to me. And I'm sure that people who are experienced with it like have a great time, but it's just a lot of the stuff because I know the characters and I know exactly what's going on in their head. It works so well. The communication is easy, which is not always the case in real life. And so while I am very, very pleased with like personal life, a lot of the stuff that's like, wow, that's so scandalous or that's so like pushing the edge or whatever is not, it's one of those works better in fictions for me personally.
Does your husband read your books and he's like, no. God damn?
No, the only part he reads is acknowledgments looking for his name. Like he likes audiobooks.
That's a dude thing. Like
he would.
He likes audiobooks, but he prefers like YA fantasy because he doesn't really want sex in his books because it like, you know, like he's like, I'm driving around. I can't be like, you know, having physical reactions to this
on
shit.
Hard. Yeah.
He's like, uncomfortable.
That's funny,
especially because he listens to him at work. Like, it might be.
That's why I'm glad I have a vagina when I'm reading your books at work. I'm like, y'all ain't gonna see this.
Nope. You're like, I feel it when I'm walking around, but you guys don't know.
Honestly,
all a mess, literally.
Literally, it's a mess.
Literally, a mess. A whole mess. That just honestly makes me think of Take a Hit, Danny Brown, when Zap was listening to the romance book at work and the earbuds come out and everybody starts hearing his romance book. Oh my god, I laugh so hard. Also, that's my worst nightmare, but it's funny.
I cannot tell you how many times that's happened with like podcasts, like at like the Starbucks drive-thru or whatever, and it's always at some sketchy part that they're like, "What the fuck are you listening to?" And I'm like, "Not for you."
That happened to me so many times. It's like the worst part. You just and then I'd be like,
seriously, right in the middle of getting railed, and then it just like my earbuds like just disconnect from my phone, and everybody can hear.
I was reading Learn My Lesson at work, and it was like busy as hell, and I was on the floor, and this customer's like, "Can you help me?" And it's Meg and Hercules fucking, and I'm just like blinking out, like elevator music playing in my head, listening to her get railed, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, you have to repeat everything, honey, because I missed
it." Then you were about to be like, you were winding it back.
Right.
Just
yes.
Like, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying 100% attention. I got to rewind it and listen to it again.
I don't feel bad. It happened to me. I really thought it just happened to me, so I don't feel bad. Okay, so yay.
No, I don't realize how loud my like car stereo was either. So I listen to my audiobooks on like 38 because I just can't hear anything. So I was listening to Learn My Lesson, and they were having the threesome, like the first threesome, and everyone's like looking at my car, and I'm like, mind your business. And then like they're all fucking, and I'm like, let me just turn this down a little bit.
I have to with my audio narrators. I like, because I had a bad experience like with something else that like the guy like stumbled over pussy. And I was like, no, I'm like, they need to be able to read the filthy stuff. And so when I send like the auditions, those are the scenes I send, because I refuse. I'm like, dirty talking is not sexy if you stumble over like the word. Like, what are you doing?
Pussy with power. Like, I need to hear shit. Like, with some oomph.
With conviction.
Oh my God.
Like, can you imagine somebody like just being like pussy? Like, what? No, stop it! You just ruined everything. Now my hero's not sexy.
Could you imagine Jafar stumbling over the word pussy? No, you can't. You gotta sell it. No, you gotta sell it.
We won't even put that negativity in the atmosphere, baby. No.
Do they have to audition live in front of you? Like, have you ever had someone like read it and look at you like, oh no, she ain't gonna make me read this?
No, because when I listen to the auditions, I turn the color of a plum. Like, there's something about hearing it versus writing it that like hits totally different. And like, I have to like close my door and put my headphones in and like basically hide under a hoodie because I get like just very embarrassed. I'm like, who wrote this? This is so, oh my God. Like,
I think I'll be smiling. I think I'll be smiling if I wrote a book and they reading the sex scenes. I'll be like,
like, it doesn't bother me when other people's books, for some reason in mine, like, I don't know what it is. It's yeah. Like, I was listening to, I think it was a Worthy Opponent, like listening through like that. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like I got flustered.
No, I'll find myself at work because we do shipment night like 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. And like I'll find myself like stuck there with stuff in my hands listening like, a word? Oh, this is what's happening? I'm like, shit, I have to work. Hold up. Let me come back.
I like this question. Would you ever co-write a novel with someone? If so, who?
I have co-written a novel with somebody. It did end up being like published for me because it was through like a publisher type thing, and they end up canceling the contract because of various reasons, because they were like going in a different direction. But I found that I move so fast, like naturally move so fast, that it's not a comfortable experience to try to co-write with somebody, because everybody has their own pace, and mine just happens to be like full throttle free fall. And so co-writing is probably not something I'm going to do in the future at this point. And it also kind of like the friendship like was affected a bit by it too, which was not ideal. So I have a lot of respect for people who can do it, but like at this point I'm like, no, I'm moving too fast. Like if I found somebody who would ever match my pace, but I'm also a control freak. So I'm not a great personality for co-writing. Unfortunately, I think I'd make people miserable.
Have you read Katrina Jackson?
Yes, I love.
Okay, that would be my ultimate collab. Like, you guys I would like literally combust. Like, it'd be
what was her first Brandy Bush one? The one where she listened through the walls?
The Roommate?
Yes, thank you. I was like, oh my God. Like, can you write more of her, like, just, or other people visiting that married couple? Like, I'm into it.
Right.
So
I would like that.
A lot. Katrina, if you're listening, See, y'all are both control freaks, so I feel like it would work. I feel like somehow it would just like mesh.
Maybe either that or we kill each other.
The book, though, the book.
Oh yeah, the book would be amazing.
Epic, iconic.
Do you have a favorite author that you?
So, I mean, yes. I mean, it depends. I actually I have authors that I consider favorites just because they convince me to like things I didn't think I liked. Like Sierra Simone. Yeah. Every time I'm like, how the fuck do you have me shipping brothers? Like, I am so confused. I don't know what's happening, but I'm reading this book. Like, just get over it. Just have sex. I don't see what the problem is. Like,
what book is this?
It's the Thorn Chapel series, which I'm spoilers, sorry, but like because it's 4 books and you find out, I think. Early-ish, like in the second book, maybe that they may or may not be brothers, but I was just like, why are you so upset about it? Like, you're dudes, it's fine. But listen, it's her fault. It's not my fault. She did it.
Dang.
But I read a lot of like fantasy. Like my favorites that I reread are Jacqueline Carey's Cutile's Dart series, which she's like spy / courtesan who like feels pain as pleasure, and it's like kinky with high fantasy politics and shenanigans, and like one of my favorite villains of all time. And then I reread the Anne Bishop Black Jewels series probably once a year, which heavy content warnings in both those books because it's like one of those ones that like people either love them or hate them, and they imprinted on me very early, so it's like I just love it the most.
What was that fantasy series?
Yeah, because I was
Cutile's Dart. It's Kushil Start by Jacqueline Carey. And it's like the series, the first 3 are like the romance across the first 3 with the courtesan is with like her bodyguard who has a vow of celibacy. So it's like the courtesan and like the virgin. And yeah, it's masterful. Like there's a lot of like politics and world building and crap that like, you know, are really good. But yes.
Okay, there we go, people. Get it.
Yes. So it's one of my favorites, and it's a fantasy that folks. So yeah, like I said, I highly recommend.
Yes.
Yep. That's a 1 click. There we go.
There it is.
Yes.
There it is. Written down.
Yes.
It's amazing.
So,
I'm ready.
I noticed as I was reading like Abel and Wicked Villains and Neon Gods that they're all like connected in some way. What made you go that route?
So Gail Carriger is an author that I super admire because all her worlds are connected. And so like traditionally speaking, when you pick up readers, they will read a series and won't necessarily, like a big percentage of them will drop off and won't jump series with you. And so she doesn't have that problem because all hers are so connected that like, they're like, oh, well, I'll read it from this angle or from this angle. And she doesn't have that reader loss. And I was like, that is so smart. And also I love that as a reader. Like I love that they're all in the same world. And I love like having the Easter eggs of, you know, like the nod to like, we see mentions of Hercules in the Dark Olympus series and mentions of like Cohen in the Beast book and beyond. And so that was kind of like my thing. It's like I wanted to do it in a way that potentially would like make readers really happy, but also make me happy. So some like payoff there emotionally, hopefully.
It is. Every time I find one, I'm like, oh, I know them.
Yes.
So I would like to know.
I'm sorry,
oh,
girl.
No, go ahead.
No,
go ahead. No,
girl, I've been talking this whole time. Shut me the hell up, all right? No, I'm like word vomiting.
I would never. I was just wondering if you would be willing to read a little something for us.
Oh, you're going to make me turn purple.
I mean, it doesn't have to be sexy, but please make it sexy.
Yeah, see, Tasha read like a nice, soft interaction between her characters because we were going to try and get her, but she's like, listen, y'all, I'll leave right now. It's okay. Okay, I'll shut the hell up right now.
Yeah, you know, I have your dad will do. I can hold on. Let's just. Also,
she's not going to give us anything new.
Like what? You know what? I have to pull it up.
Pull it up. Pull it up.
All right.
Well.
Oh wait. Yes, I'll find it. I was so not prepared for this assignment.
Veda, I did just add that to my TBR on Goodreads. I was so quick to do it.
We have like a Hoe-Athon Google Doc, and Nicole is always like, I'm writing this down. So like everything you're saying is going to end up in the Google Doc. Like,
perfect.
Yeah, I was like, I have like notes all around me of just things like written down that is just, I have to remember this because this is gold.
All right, so I will read something from my upcoming book, The Bastard's Betrayal, which is like my O'Malley's second gen.
Yes.
Listen, the time, it's been 30 years since the end of the first series. The people have aged. Nothing technical else has happened. Like, we don't ask questions. Physics doesn't matter. All right, where is... Oops, probably hope. Okay. So, and the setup is that our heroine, Rose, has just discovered that her boyfriend of several months, Jackson Smith, is actually Dante Verducci, who is a mob connected to a rival mob family, and he's been tricking her this whole time, and she's very upset. And so she is like, yeah, I'll break up with him my way. All right, so boop. How long should this be?
Whatever you want to give us. Listen, we will take whatever.
Okay.
Just read the whole book. I'm just kidding.
10 years later. Okay. And I read really fast. I'm not a great public speaker. We're just gonna roll with it. So she took the stairs up to Dante's apartment. The main door's lock was broken and had been since she met him. She joked about the security risk, but either he'd never reported it or the super didn't care enough to fix it. It didn't matter now, not when it worked to her advantage. Rose took a deep breath, paused to make sure her purse was open and the gun was within reach, and knocked on the door. It was only then that she realized she hadn't texted or called before showing up. It was too late to alter course now. If Jackson, damn it, Dante, wasn't home, she'd just break in and wait for him to return. A shuffling on the other side of the door had her holding her breath. It opened a moment later to reveal the man himself. His blonde hair was mussed as if he'd been sleeping, and his dark eyes went wide at the sight of her. Rose, what are you doing here? I wanted to see you. She gave him a sweet smile. Whoops. Sorry I didn't call. I was in the neighborhood, and well, I got a little impulsive. Sometimes when she lied, she'd get a twinge of conscience. Not this time. Well, I'm not going to turn down some time with my girl. He stepped back and opened the door wide. My girl gagged me. She kept her smile in place as she moved into the apartment. It looked the same as the last time she spent the night. Ratty secondhand furniture that he claimed was charming, a ridiculously large television, and a gaming setup. The kitchen was falling apart but clean. The entire place was clean. She'd liked that a lot about him, that he took good care of his things, even when they weren't necessarily valuable to anyone else. She'd liked that he tried to take care of her, too. Her chest gave a sickening pang, but she shut it down. It was all a lie, but it was almost over. She just had to see this through. He shut the door and pulled her into his arms so quickly she barely managed not to tense. Jackson kissed her lightly on the lips. Missed you. Missed you too, she murmured. Rose searched his handsome features, looking for the man beneath. His facade was flawless. No one could fault her for being fooled. No one but herself. She gave him a nudge. Aren't you going to offer me a drink? It's noon. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. She made herself laugh, hated how carefree it sounded. Come on, bartender. I know you have something up your sleeve. For you, always. He released her and moved to the kitchen. She slipped her hand into her purse the moment his back was turned. He moved easily, grabbed 3 bottles and a glass. How had she never thought to question the kept off-shelf liquor? Rose had just considered it a quirk of his trade that he developed good taste when working behind the bar. She should have questioned it. She should have questioned a lot of things. You having a rough day? She pulled the gun from her purse and thumbed the safety off. She already screwed the silencer on before arriving. Not that anyone in this neighborhood would think too hard about strange sounds, but she didn't need someone getting nosy. Enough had already gone wrong. The cherry on top would be some cops deciding to sniff around. Something like that. He picked up the shaker and gave it a good shake. The move had the muscles lining his back standing out. Another thing she hadn't questioned: how a bartender who worked full time and spent the rest of his time with her had a body like that. There was the scar, and then there were the scars, of course, courtesy of an adventurous childhood, he claimed. She was a fool. Did you think I wouldn't figure it out? She didn't mean to speak, but the words were out before she could call them back. What are you talking about, babe? I think you know, Jackson. She sucked in a breath, her finger caressing the trigger. Now was the time to pull it, to end it, but she wanted to see his face, to have him admit what he'd done, to prove I'm better. Or should I say, Dante. She expected him to tense, to deny something. All he did was turn around and lean against the counter, the shaker still in his hands. She stared into his face so she saw the exact moment the mask fell away. The happy look in his dark eyes bled away, leaving only an empty coldness that had her fighting back a shiver. So, even his voice changed, the easy cadence disappearing and replaced by yet more emptiness. You figured it out. Dante Verducci, I don't know what you were trying to accomplish, but it ends now. His gaze flicked to the gun in her hands. You really think you're going to shoot me? You were coming around my cock 24 hours ago. Fury nearly made her black out. Oh yeah, she wasn't going to regret this. Not a single bit. Maybe the consequences, maybe what happened next with the Caparellis, but not the next 30 seconds. I faked it. She pulled the trigger.
She shot his ass.
She shot his ass.
Yeah.
You gotta start shooting these men. I really respect that.
Right.
She said, I faked it. I faked it.
Now you know you lying, but
imagine that being the last thing you hear before you like descend into hell. I faked my orgasm, and like you just.
To be fair, she doesn't kill him. He escapes, and then she's gonna be marrying one of them Caparelli dudes, and he's like, "Nah, it's cool. Like you got interesting when you shot me, so you're mine now." And then he kidnaps her from her wedding. So.
Imagine being turned on because you got shot.
I'm still on the muscles in the back when he.
Yeah.
The muscles.
I'm on the muscles. I was like, ow.
I could see him like flexing. I'm like, okay.
I am in love.
Honestly, you know that I faked it hurt worse than the gunshot wound. You know that.
I'm not saying he gave her mediocre sex on purpose. Wow, words are super cool. Because he was supposed to be a mediocre dude, I'm just saying he might have given her mediocre sex on purpose.
What?
Oh, on purpose.
Only initially.
All men do is lie.
So they're gonna get a second chance to do it, and then he's gonna just put it on her ass.
Yeah. Basically, it's like kidnapping, and then like, oh hey, I faked it too. So like, let's get down. And
is it gonna be like heels behind the head type shit? Like she gonna be contortioning in that bedroom?
You know, there's a lot of like fighting to fucking.
So he gonna show up at our wedding, and they gonna be like, anybody have to object? And he gonna come in and be like, bitch, I'm here. And ain't gonna be no wedding. And then he gonna kidnap her ass, and boom. That's it.
So when can we expect this on the Patreon? Because I'm like,
it should be out mid-August, I think. Because I just sent it to my editor. I just finished it this week, and she'll get back to me in like a week or two, and then when I send it to my copy edits, that's when we do the early release. So yeah, like mid-August at the very latest.
I need this in my life, Katie. I really do.
I'll fight somebody for ARC.
I feel like I need this.
Name the author, because I'll fight him.
That was good. I just want to see more muscles in his back.
Oh, yeah, they exist because he he's got like the bro thing with the beard and stuff, but like he's one of those rare specimens. So when he shaves the beard, he's actually more attractive. So she's gonna be real put out about it.
She's gonna be real put out about it. Like,
is something else
attractive?
Pardon?
Is something else veiny too?
Of course.
We love to see it.
Stolen from the wedding is Heather's favorite trope.
Also mine. Like there's something about, and it also, of course, like
it's a trope.
I mean, in dark romance it exists. Like I don't know.
You know what? I don't read dark romance that much. I need to get on board. What am I doing?
You have to be careful because some of it's like, I'm like, oh, like I have weird, like, I need the rose tinted glasses to be very rose tinted for dark romance. Like, I don't want, you need to respect the ladies. You need to, like, no, assault, like sexual assault on people. But so, like, I I don't read as much dark romance as I'd like to, because it's like sometimes you get in there and you're like, oh no, too much. Let's dial it back.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the dark romance. What'd you say, what?
I said if she could just drop her Rex on Twitter on the dark romance front, I can just go ahead and snatch that up.
Yeah, I like the dark romance, but I don't like it when like either of the protagonists makes the other one bleed, or, you know, like that assault, like you were saying, Katie. Like, yeah, that's kind of like a no for me.
I mean, I say no, but then I had the hair and shoot somebody twice. I mean, he deserved it. But
he deserved it.
But like, he can't, like, if somebody's kidnapping somebody else, like, you can't, like, they have to be real assured that they're not going to get like, yeah. But even then, there's exceptions. I don't know. It just depends on the author. It really does, because like. For every time I'm like, no, that's a line for me, somebody will come along and be like, oh, it's not. Okay.
Yeah, you just read your little snippet there, and I'm just like, yeah, shoot his ass. I don't care.
Right. You deserve it, because when you lie and you deceive people, then you get shot. You understand? So you deserve that shit. It is what it is. Stop lying.
And he's super okay with it. Like, he like calls her later that chapter and is like, hey, you just got interesting. I'm running for my life while bleeding from wounds, but like, hey girl, I'm gonna see you again. Like, the man has audacity.
If he's from a mob family, that shit probably made his dick extra hard. He probably was on and like, this bitch shot me. She's the one. Like,
pretty much, honestly, pretty much. Like,
I'd be like in the ER, like,
that's my wife.
I know I'm bleeding internally, but like, can I have 5 seconds to just like beat it off real fast? Because like, I'm about to go get this girl.
He loved that shit. He was like, oh shit, she ain't scared to pull the trigger. That's my woman right there.
Ryder.
Yep.
Literally like bleeding, driving away, but he's like, I gotta make the booty call first. If she's still interested, I'm down.
Definitely.
Yeah, he's like,
are your parents that woman?
Right.
Bree, her characters do have multiple orgasms.
Yeah.
I feel like it's required.
I feel like,
yeah, dark light romance is my favorite, because it's like
dark light.
Well, and I say that, and there's exceptions. Like Nikki Sloan has Sorted, which is like crosses so many lines. Like that book, I'm like, I was super prepped going into it, so I knew like that there's like, I mean, it's date rape. Like, frankly, like it's not. But you're in her head, and she's like sort of into it, even if she's like, no, I don't know. But it should not work. It should not work. But somehow she pulls it off, and I'm like, I don't understand how you're doing this. So every once in a while, like this super dark stuff, I'm okay with, but yeah, that one has like heavy trigger warnings. But Sierra Simone's like, just try it. It's really great. Like, it's, just be prepared. And I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna try it. And then I was like, oh, I see what you're saying. I devoured this book in one sitting. Okay.
When people say that like dark romance is super taboo, I'm like, have you been on AO3? Because there's some shit on there. I'm like, this is tame, absolutely tame.
Yeah.
With the whole dubious consent or consensual non-consent, is like, if we don't get like whoever is supposedly being taken against their will, if we don't get their point of view, then that doesn't really work for me. But if you are getting their point of view and they're saying like, oh, I'm really liking this is really hot, then it works for me. But if you're not getting their point of view and they're like, struggling, trying to get away, then I'm like,
I just had a conversation with somebody about this, because I was like, that's the only time that it has a potential. I mean, because you could still mess it up, but like that's the only time it has potential of working, is if you're in the head of the person who's like not fully giving consent. If they're super into it, then it's like, oh, like we can ride with this. Whereas if it was in like, it's usually the dude who's like the aggressor. If you're in his point of view, it's like, well, this isn't sexy. This is just bad. Like, because I don't know. Like So it's. So I bought The Dare off of like Eden Books or something. I haven't read it yet, but like a lot of people recommended that one.
The Dare. What is that
one? It's like she was his bully or something, and so like somehow ends up being like his like under his control because of some game for like the night, and so he like makes her do all these things. Everybody has like been talking about it though, so I'm like, all right, like.
Oh, so it's new.
I I don't know how new. I just know it got taken off of Amazon for. I'm not even sure what the content part of it was that got taken off of Amazon. Because literally, like, it just like people like read it, and I'm like, okay, I don't know anything about this. Okay, there might be clowns involved. I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Honestly, like, it got taken off off of Amazon. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna read it.
Yeah, right.
Like, what made y'all draw the line? Let me find out.
Yes.
Which one's? Who's the author of Twist Me?
Twist Me. Yeah. I'm not sure.
Because like I read, and it's just so fluid. Because like I read Annika Martin's Dark Mafia Prince, and like that, I expected to be a little bit sexier. It was pretty sexy, but like I expected to be sexier for whatever reason. But then like there's this whole threat throughout that he's gonna like take her finger and like send it to her dad, and like I was like kind of put out that he didn't. I was like, you
the finger.
Yeah, so I was like, just like you promised me some like I don't know, like it for whatever reason.
The cover is really pretty.
I'm
just writing it.
Y'all are dropping some gems. Like, I'm about to be maxing out my card over here.
So Veda's saying the Dare, it's not really that bad, taboo or darkness, but I guess Amazon just ain't kinky.
Well,
Listen, the way Jeff Bezos dresses.
Come
on now. What'd you say?
And
I've seen Twist Me on TikTok. Now that I recognize that cover.
The Dare is saying it's by Harley LaRue.
Yeah, she has the other one that people always recommend. I'm gonna forget the title. It just came out, like the Demons one. Hold on, I'm gonna find this title. I might have just made that up. Harley.
Her Soul to Taste.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah, that people have been really, really enjoying. So that's
I think I just borrowed that one from KU too.
Oh.
I remember there was one time this person's book talk thing went viral, and it was a book about the like teacher fucking the student, and like book Twitter got a hold of it like, this is so disgusting, you guys are promoting this, and I was like, drop the title one more time.
Listen, I was so amused that like Den of Vipers was so prominent on TikTok that like I hadn't heard shit about it on Twitter, when I was like, this is exactly the kind of thing that like book Twitter would love to like freak out about. And I still like, it still hasn't really, I haven't seen much of anything about it over there, and I don't know if it's just like a generational thing or like what, but
well, people on book Twitter don't read, and that's a 500-page book. So that would require them doing something. You know what I'm saying? So they're not going to read it. They ain't going to read it.
Den of Vipers is thick.
Yes, she is.
Thick.
Yeah. But yeah, there's like, a lot of the books I see recommended, I'm like, okay, but it's like hard to gauge. I'm like, all right, is this like actually messed up, or is this like messed up? Like, because I have a few TikTokers that I really trust at this point, but like, I never know. So I just screenshot and then I circle back when I do a little research, if I remember.
Have you read Ice Planet Barbarians by any chance?
I read the third one. I think for some reason, aliens just don't really do it for me. I don't know. Like, I want to try her Dragon series because I liked her voice a lot and I liked like the romance and the setup and stuff. But for some reason, aliens just don't crank my engine. And so every time I try to read an alien book, I'm like, it's just not for me. Except Tiffany Roberts Ensnared. But I had to stop that one because it's going to end on a cliffhanger and I can't like roll with that until all the books are out. I was like, oh, this cover's cool, even though he's a spider. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of arachnophobic. Like, I don't know about that. But then I started reading it and I was like, oh, this is like really sweet.
I loved that book.
It's so good. Like,
traumatized me as a kid, and that's why I don't fool with spiders, man. Like, no.
That's wild too, because Arachnophobia is one of my comfort movies. So
really?
What big spider to the end?
Sorry, what?
I can't. I don't fuck with that.
Stop the cameras. What? Get out.
yeah.
Go now. No.
I don't like spiders, but I love that movie.
Nicole, can we mute her?
So you like the fly too then?
No, I don't. No.
Oh wait, so that's too far. But this spider, get out of here! I'm tired of you.
I don't. It's arachnophobia, 8-legged freaks. Like I hate spiders in real life, but I love those.
If it's Skitters, I can't fuck with that. But this book, for whatever reason, like it has kind of like a me Tarzan, her Jane feel, like early on, and it's like I was like, and the world building's really cool. So I plan on circling back for sure. If I read a book with a cliffhanger, 90% of the time I forget like the next book exists and I never wander back to it. So my only chance of success is to like all the books to be out and to read all the way through.
Yeah. I'm the
second book, it will be out end of this year, and then the third book is like beginning of next year. But that first book was so good.
What book is this?
It's called Ensnared by Tiffany Roberts, which I want to read.
I'm done.
Yeah.
It's a husband-wife team, and like they have other stuff. They have like some like Kraken shit, which I'm like,
yes, the Kraken series. It's so good.
Yeah, so I'm gonna circle back to some of their other stuff.
Is it out? Are all the books out in the Kraken series?
Oh, and yes.
Okay. I can do that.
But it's a pretty extensive series. I think there's like 9 books out.
God, don't tell me that. I'm just gonna pretend I didn't hear that, and I'm gonna read.
No, it's only 3 books, Katie.
Yes, perfect. But yeah, no, I actually, speaking of Krakens and tentacles, I just started reading Stalked by the Kraken by Lillian Lark.
Let me write that down. Stalked by the Kraken.
And she pitched it as like cozy stalking, and I was like, I know exactly what you're talking about, like with cozy stalking. And I haven't got to the sexy bits yet, but I have been promised tentacles, and the heroine's like a witch who runs like a bathhouse type thing where they like people can meet to have sex, and like they harvest the energy, and it's like it's delightful so far.
I love that shit. Oh my god, I need that.
Wait, hold on. I have a sanitary question. Are they cleaning the bath after people are fucking?
I'm assuming so. I haven't actually seen, and I'm 23% of the way through. I have not seen any boning at all. But I'm assuming it's magic, so I'm assuming they do like a magic like whisk.
It's self-cleaning. It's a self-cleaning bath.
Oh man, this is
wait. So if alien books don't really like rub your fancy, would you write one to like show them how it's done?
No, because they do it so well. It's just it's just not my kink, I guess. Like monsters, yes. Aliens, like, I'm trying, like, because I keep trying. Like, I tried Ella Mavens, and like I love her writing, but it's just for some reason they just don't do it for me. So it's a me issue. Monster romance to start for beginners. A Lady of Rooksgrave Manor by Catherine Moon. The monsters are like, it's like a reverse harem, and it's like really soft considering like the content, but it's the monsters are like very good starter monsters, and you get like a peek of like what might be coming later with like, listen, I know the second book happens in that theater that you see in the first book, and the heroine is in that theater somehow, and so I'm like very anxious for the second book. So that's a great starter monster because it kind of dip your toes in a little bit, and they're like not too monstery, and you can kind of like get a feel for it.
Their monsters are like,
go ahead. What the hell is cozy stalking? Like,
okay, so at least in this book, like he sees her and is like, that shit's my mate, that's my woman, but I also can't just walk up to this woman and be like, you're my mate, hello. And so he kind of like he doesn't like stalk her in her house or anything, but like he sort of just like meanders around her like in her periphery for like a week until he finally meets her. So it's not stalking with like sinister intent or try. It's just like, oh, I want to know more about you. I'd like being close to you.
Okay, because I was like, there's a cozy way to stalk somebody. That's
T, you know that picture of Shaq behind that tiny ass tree? I'm picturing
the one where he's like cleaning like the ledge or something as he's like creepily looking.
Yes.
Okay, perfect meme to describe.
Oh, okay. So would you ever write a Fae series or Shifter series?
Yes, to both. I would. Yes. At some point. Listen, okay, I'm not saying like I'm gonna say this, and everyone's gonna be like, "What the shit are you talking about?" But like, I am going to put swan shifters in my romance. Now, I realize that swan shifters are not inherently sexy. However, those birds are scary. They are very family oriented, and they will fuck a bitch up. And I love swans, and so
they are scary and family oriented.
Yes. Listen. They like take care of their babies, and they will also like, fight you.
Swans scare me.
Swans aren't the weirdest shifters I've ever read. Like I've read
the cuttlefish. Did you read the cuttlefish one?
I don't
I
care.
read the pufferfish one. I read the pufferfish.
What?
And then I read a honey badger one.
So honey badger makes sense to me. Like the Shelley Lawrenston, whatever kind of shifter she writes, I will read because like her honey badger don't give a shit, and I love it.
It's like Animorphs with dick.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. If it's not a wolf or a dragon, I'm not reading it.
I support you.
I've also read Armadillo.
I feel like what's the purpose of shifting if you're going to shift into something else other than a dragon or a wolf?
Like this dude, I'm fucking this dude. He's a bunny afterwards. Like, what am I supposed to do with this?
No, they gotta be like predators of some sort.
Predators.
And to be fair, the swan shifters are like not the premier like couples or anything, but like I wanted to write it forever, but I will actually write real shifters at some point because I like paranormal, and it's just I'm slowly getting the excuse to like write the paranormal I want to write.
So basically, we're getting the swan princess with fucking.
No, because that swan princess, she was like a wuss. She was like, "Oh, save me."
She was.
I mean, except when she left his ass at the beginning, like that was pretty like amazing. But no, like these swans will like fuck you up. Like,
yeah.
Like, and they're a little bit feral. Like it's just take my hand and roll with me on this, and I promise I will get us there. But the first main couple are like
swans?
No, they're like lovable, chaotic. I don't know. Like the first couple is like a telekinetic lady who will fuck people up, and a guy who shifts into like a wolfy type monster. So like that's practically a wolf shifter.
A bunny shifter gets with a wolf shifter. The wolf gonna eat the bunny. What is going on here?
The wolf that's part of the book. The wolf does eat the bunny. You're right.
The wolf does eat.
Yeah. Not that type of eating. He gonna eat that shit like he hungry.
Well, don't we want them to eat it like they're hungry?
It's gonna be slurping like they have watermelon.
Girl, my buddy's literally hopping across the floor as we speak, listening to this. That poor bunny.
Just like what? Bunnies and wolves?
No, for real.
Gab, I am writing down the Rex. Don't you worry.
I'm gonna just stick to the wolves and the dragons.
Yeah, the swan shifters were in Anita Blake, but they were like wussy there too. They were like all fainty and like protect me.
I only got to like book 5 maybe in that series.
See, you should have started at book 9, which I did, and that's where the crazy stuff starts. And
I stopped because the love triangle was driving me nuts.
By the end of it, it's straight up reverse harem, and she has sex with them in like their half shifted form and stuff. Like there is wild things going on in that series.
Start at book 9,
but it's like 2 separate series. Like book 9, like there's still some like, oh, I shouldn't, I'm a slut. But like especially towards the later on,
that's
like,
why I stopped. Honestly,
yeah,
she was like,
yeah, no, she loses that pretty quick. Yeah,
got it.
Okay, I had no idea that the world of shifter fucking was this extensive. Like, didn't you just read a unicorn one, Nicole?
What?
I did. I read The Unicorn's Mare by S.J. Sanders. Yeah.
Was it good?
It was okay. I liked the book Red. It was like a Little Red Riding Hood retelling, except for instead of I mean she does get eaten by the wolves. I mean, she does a lot. But it's like a reverse harem Little Red Riding Hood, and it's like they're aliens, but they look like massive werewolves, and they don't shift back into people. So that one was really good. But yes, I did just
read that on the Twitter rec. I would like to check that one out.
Is there horn fucking in that? Like I know.
There's not horn fucking. It was a missed opportunity.
That is a missed opportunity.
Truly.
And he was
You
like,
have
he
to
was
like
a
put a
unicorn.
cap on it, but like
He was a unicorn
Right.
shifter. He wasn't like a unicorn all the time, and that was also very upsetting.
He could put a vibrating cap on that thing and destroy lives. Like,
Right.
back to the drawing board. Let's go.
I know. I was like, I feel like there was a
Let's
lot of
redo it.
potential with it. It just didn't deliver. So I did prefer red, and I'll put it in the chat.
perfect. I'm excited because I'm looking for like I'm on this hunt for a very particular kind of monster romance, and it's just like I either get like the softer stuff with like monsters, or like monsters, but it's like the content warnings are far too much for like my personal preference. But I have a spreadsheet. I'm working my way through it slowly but surely.
Yeah. So I did prefer that one.
Sweet.
Well, that's good to know.
Woo. Yeah, you've never reported back. I'm sorry. It's just because it was like a 3-star for me.
Y'all stress me out, child.
Ooh, okay. Hold on, let me write it down.
So, Katie, tell us about your hair color. Like, what motivated you to the pink hair? I like it. I was trying to find a lipstick to match your hair, but I was running late, so I had to do what I had to do, child. So,
T, explain the reason behind your name so she gets it.
oh, Shades and Pages is because I like lipstick shades, and pages because a bitch be reading pages. Like,
I love it. Yeah, I just get bored really easily, and a few years ago was like, fuck it, I don't have a real job, or like, like a day job. Like, I can do whatever I want. And so like I'm basically just like embodying the persona that like teenage me really wanted to but didn't have the balls to do. And I've gone through most of the colors in the rainbow except for green and yellow, like at this juncture. And I really like pink because I just love it, but also it makes men like causes like visceral reactions, and like dudes, like it's very fascinating. I've had like grown-ass men like step back from me, like it, like whereas Fire Engine Red makes middle-aged men like hunt me down, which I don't. I mean, I love the Fire Engine Red, my husband loves it, but I don't love the interactions that it causes.
okay, well, I like it.
Thank you.
I think my teenage self wanted a nose ring, so I think I'm going to get me one. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So I get it.
I want one. They're like,
Let's get together.
everybody seems to be getting them now. I love them.
Yeah. All right.
Is there a pierced? Well, I know Hook was very alternative, which was super. Wasn't he? He was like tatted, wasn't he?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay.
I didn't read
Is there
that.
gonna be like a pierced hero in our midst? Like I'm talking like I want the Prince Albert on the penis, everything.
Yes.
Did Beast have a pierced situation? Did I just make that? Did I just think about it and not do it?
Who?
No, I think he does. I think he does.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do that again for sure. Because like
I think
there's
he
like
does.
What book is that?
Which book is that one?
Beast.
The Beast.
Oh,
Yeah.
I haven't gotten there
you're
yet.
right.
Oh.
You're right. You're right.
Keep reading, right? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I think he does have a whole piercing situation going on down there, because I think, there's a piercing situation there somewhere.
I will be doing it again though because I love that shit. Like,
Yeah, I would like to. I would like to experience that.
yes, with accessories.
Yeah.
The fancy peen.
Right.
Well, the beauty of like monster romances, you get them like Ice Planet Barbarians. You get those accessories built in. Like that's very
Yes.
That ridge tongue, like
The ridge tongue, the
Yes.
ridge penis with the little, extra clit stimulator just built in.
right. And like the monsters have like tails and stuff. Like if you don't utilize that, it is a missed opportunity, and I will not be missing that opportunity. So
No, in Aveda's book feed,
Yes.
when they had like her riding the demon dick and it like flared out, and then like it was ridged, and then like Kai was using their like
Yeah, he was using the little tentacle and just playing
oh my
with
god,
her clit.
it was so
I'm
much.
thinking it looks like this.
like
I'm moving that one up my to be read
like,
list.
it hurt. It hurt to read that book. I was so horny the whole time. I was like, Aveda, like, please release me.
Release. I need release.
That book was hot. I liked that. It was really hard.
Skin was to Katie gargoyles. Like the use of the tusk in skin.
Okay, that's on my list too. I'm actually reading this. So I started reading the webcomic, but then I joined the artist Patreon, and they have this like not safe for work content in there. I'm gonna have to look it up and put it on Twitter, but like it's like he's like a gargoyle, but like he's got this chest thing that opens up that has tentacles and stuff in it, and he utilizes that to full extent in the not safe for work art, which you have to pay for, obviously. But like,
okay,
I'm like, what? And like his tail's always like holding her foot, like.
Oh yes,
like it is fully. It's called like and it's like canon, but it happens like after the webcomic like ends whenever it ends, and so but it's like she's got two full like arcs of the sex stuff, which I'm like, oh my god. I highly I'm all about them gargoyles now. After that I was like, oh I see, I understand.
Did you watch like Gargoyles when it was like the animated TV show?
No, I don't know if I missed it or if we just never had it on.
If you go back and watch it, Goliath, Daddy, like him and his mother tag teaming a bitch. Yes, God. Yes,
that's what I was just picturing when I was reading Skin. I was like Goliath, like that.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was like my first ship, Goliath and Eliza.
Right.
I want to like lick him from peck to peck, like that big chested. Oh, so sexy.
Yeah. Yes. Like I was always like, he was very like young me was like, this man, I'm feeling things. Should I be feeling things? I don't know.
100%.
Yeah.
I think it's on Disney Plus.
I'm sure.
It is.
Oh, what's on Disney Plus? I need to
Gargoyles.
Oh, I love that when I was growing up. I really liked it. Okay.
Afraid of Moss? But I'm confused.
That's how I feel about Ensnared by Tiffany Roberts. I'm like, I firmly said that this is the line. I don't want skittering, but I'm like,
maybe.
Yes, Goliath Daddy.
Goliath Daddy.
100%.
Wait, so circling back around, I wanted to ask how many books are going to be in your Neon God series?
So currently, that I can talk about, we're contracted for 3. Ideally, if like the sun shines and the sales do the thing and like the publisher cooperates, everybody is happy. At least 9.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll see how it goes. But that's like really long for traditional series, so I don't know. But like I had seen like successful series like take off when they obviously weren't planning on more than like 4 or 5 books, and like they have that leg in the middle. So I was like, I'm gonna plan it out and have like my arcs in place so that should the best case scenario happen, I know what happens. But now I'm like emotionally attached, so like I hope it works out.
I hope it works out too.
Yeah, me too. Because that Neon Gods was like amazing. I literally read the arc and wrote my review in like a day, and I had to sit on the review until like the first of the month, and I was literally like, y'all don't understand. Like, oh my God, he's such a simp. Like in the public sex, like y'all. It was a lot. I loved it.
So it's obvious I'm the only one that haven't read it. So I need to get my life together. When you said public sex, I'm all in.
Public sex on a throne. On a throne.
On a throne.
Yes. There's a throat fucking scene. And child, I almost made my husband turn back around before work. I'm like, I'll be late today. I do not care. I was like in church, honey, shouting. And then like when she's riding his dick in public and he's like, work for it. I was like, no, I know everyone ain't watching this. It was so good.
I'm really excited for people to read the second one too, because Eros is such a different character than Hades. Like he's still soft for her, of course, but like he's not soft for everybody else, and it's a very different vibe. So I hope it works out. But their thing is like mirror sex, so I'm excited for that too.
Ooh.
Mirror sex.
That's why there's a mirror on the cover. See,
my editor, like, because we added like some of that later on, and she's like, I felt very strongly about this, so I like pushed for the mirror on the cover so hopefully that's thematically relevant after all these edits. And I was like, No, that's a good idea. I like that. We're gonna do that.
Yes.
Mirror sex.
Yeah, I'm literally out here telling NetGalley I will cut out my own spleen for an arc. So
I think it should be hitting NetGalley like soonish because it's on Edelweiss or Edelweiss, however you say it. Now, which is like the like librarians and booksellers or whatever. So it should be hitting NetGalley like before too long.
Like so. I will bend over. I will get on my knee. I will do whatever I have to do.
You know you will.
With
I have no problem.
Whose dick do I have to suck to get?
I'm like, line the CEOs up. It's on.
This is Hoe-Athon, so
Dick. Who? Just point them out.
Like who needs to suck my throat just so I could get this book? That's what I need to know.
And they're like, we already approved you. It's fine. Like,
okay, great.
Although I'll have you know, I was in a live with Katee Robert. Send it.
Send it. Like that's it.
This should be pre-approval. Just send the link. Like, this is my pre-approval. Thank you.
Well, if you have any trouble, let me know and I'll take care of it.
We're just gonna pull up on him and cause a scene, you know. How we do.
Be like,
I mean, that's how I get arcs. I'm like tagging the publisher on Twitter, like, excuse me, I would love to read this book that I have already pre-ordered, and I would like to talk about it. Please send me this arc, but you rejected me, and now I'm sad. Like, I have no shame.
I would be like, I'm a New York Times best-selling author, bitch. I want to be approval on everything.
Well, I don't care about that, but I'm like, I'm a TikToker now, so I would like to talk about this book on TikTok.
I'm an influencer, so
don't you know I was sponsored for coffee? So like, I'm kind of a big deal. Like,
she's like, don't you know who I am? Thank you.
Oh my god. They're like, and you're auto block. Thanks.
Not the block.
No. Not the mirror sex. Yeah, I can't wait. Speaking of Neon God,
happened on a headstand.
I accidentally bought 2 copies, so someone's getting one. Not the signed copy, but you can get the normal one. But someone's getting it. I just haven't done the giveaway yet because reasons.
Life be lifing.
You know? Yeah.
But you could like annotate in the second copy if you wanted to. Like, I mean, generosity is all great, but 2 copies.
Well, I saw
that's true.
Some author, it might have been Lee Bargo, like annotated because like went through Kindle and like left like I guess the notes or whatever like in her version of it, and so you could see on Goodreads like the annotated, and I was like, that's really cool, but that also sounds like a lot of work. Like,
yeah.
To annotate your own book and then give it away.
Well, I actually did that with Neon Gods. I did an annotated version, which then I was like, well, I should have kept record of this because I could not tell you what the hell I wrote in the damn thing. So I hope that person enjoys it who won it because it's a one of a kind. It's never going to happen again.
Do you know what the third book, like for the Neon God series, like what characters that's going to revolve around?
I actually... It's written. I actually turned it in on release day because that was my due date. But it's Helen, Achilles, and Patroclus. And I like. There's some. I can't spoiler it up too much. Yeah, 3. Yes. Well, because it was going to be Helen and Achilles, but I was like, that feels kind of like a barrier gaze thing with like Patroclus. Like, I don't want him dead, and like I also can't just ignore his presence. And I was like, well, let's just do a threesome. My editor was like, yes, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't know I could like do that in a traditional book. Like. We're doing it, and if things go well, book 5 will be Orpheus, Eurydice, and Charon.
You know the Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller? I'm just going to tell everyone that your book is that, so they're reading that. They're like, this is not the book I thought it was. No, you're right. It's not.
It's not.
You're welcome. No,
but you're welcome.
I have that one. I read Circe and I really liked it, but I am not emotionally prepared to be destroyed, and so
nobody's emotionally prepared for the Song of Achilles.
It was heartbreaking.
It's just gonna hurt me, and I'm still mad. Like, I want Paris to die in a fire, and so like, yeah, so I'm not prepared for that. But yeah, so it's kind of like my way of rewriting, and also it's kind of fun to like give some nods to like the Trojan War like through the book. So it'll be. I'm waiting for edits. I think it's a hot mess though, because I was like, I don't know what's happening. It's really hard to balance these 3 strong personalities, and Helen is much like, because Psyche and Persephone have, for all that Demeter's kind of like monstrous, they had like a pretty like safe home life, and Helen did not. And so it was very interesting to write that perspective of like growing up as Zeus's daughter is not, good for like a healthy, well-balanced person. So
I feel like, didn't you release like a snippet on Patreon? Did I make that up?
I probably did. I feel I was doing some teasers of it, but I felt bad because it's like so far out that I didn't want to tease too much because that's just cruel. Like it was before
it made me very happy, so it was fine.
Okay, I will definitely do more when I do edits because those should be coming soon, and so I'm not prepared.
Can we expect a Medusa book?
I don't have one actively planned, mostly because I want to do Medusa as a paranormal, like with actual true full-on paranormal elements. And so someday there will be a Medusa book for me because like justice for Medusa. But probably not in this series, most likely.
How do you decide how close you're going to stay to the myth and what to change?
It's mostly based on pure like selfish indulgence on like I keep the stuff that I like and like change the stuff that I don't, and then I try to do Easter eggs and whatnot in it. But like the setups and whatnot for both the first 2 books is relatively similar to the actual myths, like ish. But the third one's much different, just because it's like they don't ever really meet in the stories. But there was that like Troy or whatever the hell that limited series was on like some streaming channel at some point that I started watching. And I got real mad because it was kind of crap. But there was an Achilles and Helen scene, and I was like, oh shit! Like that planted a seed that I was not prepared for, and so this is kind of like a result of that seed planted.
Oh, cool!
I love your Easter eggs. Like, I don't know why, but reading Neon Gods and like the river Styx literally just being like a fucking river and she's running across the bridge. I was like, this is so cool. Like, I want to be here. I will say, she's barefoot on the street and it's dirty in the city. Help.
There were some people very upset about how different it was, which I was like, you know what? That's okay. I'm glad we discovered this together. This series is not for you because it's just going to get more upsetting because we're going to get further and further from the actual myths the further in we go. But yeah, there are some people that were like pretty upset that they're like, well, the gods aren't gods and the myth is not, that's not how it is in the myth. And I'm like, yeah. And Persephone and Psyche aren't related. And I'm like, no. I was like,
grow up.
Well, I think it's kind of like, Greek myths were such a big part of like a lot of people's lives that they have very strong feelings about it. And so it's kind of like any time you retell something like that, you're going to get a lot of people bringing their emotions into it, which is fair. Me too. But it's kind of like that. Like I read the book and the movie's different feeling. Like I read this myth and this is not what it is. And I'm like, that's okay.
Here's the thing. I have always loved Greek mythology. Like I'm a big nerd. I took classes in college for fun on like Pompeii and the classics, and I've read the Iliad and the Odyssey like 5 times, whatever. Listen, if you really want the original story, go read the original story.
Yes.
Okay, like please stop. Find some taste, okay? Because
but I just like there's like Greek mythology is so incestuous, and I was like, well, we're gonna like clean up some of these family lines, and like I don't want 45 kingdoms with princesses like in the myth, so we're gonna condense that into one family. So because it makes it easier for and because I wanted to, like, let's be honest, I was just like, this is my world, we're playing in it, let's do the damn thing. So but it was really fun to kind of
well, it's like Zeus fucks an animal, but you're not okay with these people being a contemporary. Like, okay, where's the line for you?
He literally got somebody pregnant with a golden shower, like, and y'all are mad.
But someone getting throat fucked is like too out of the. I don't listen.
It's kind of like this was a good tester for people because it's like you should probably stop here because you're gonna be real mad in a minute. So like,
mad.
Yeah, because like it's like, well, Achilles and Patroclus live, and also I think that like, and the Orpheus and Eurydice, assuming that like goes down, will like. I love the idea of her when she returns to the underworld, like hanging out with Charon and him being like, that dude fucked you over, fuck that dude. And then like, you know, having to negotiate those personalities. But I love her. Like the nice thing about a menage is that you can have like the friends to lovers or like the second chance romance and then have that third person to add more conflict and also resolution. So it'll be fun. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with it.
It is so much fun. I think.
Katie,
you have to read it.
I'm going to.
Katie, did you tweet that you were going to go see Hadestown?
Yes,
Oh my god, I'm so jealous. Okay, sorry, I just because I love Orpheus and Eurydice.
Oh my god, like I was in New York in like July of 2019, and I miss seeing it, and have been obsessed with like I listen to that so much, and like my Orpheus. Which I'm kind of glad I didn't see it now because, like, I know he's played in person differently than how he sounds in the soundtrack. But, like, my Orpheus, I'm like, he sounds like a fuckboy. He sounds like I love my music and I'm not taking care of my woman. And, like, so that's kind of, like, the vibe I brought into my Orpheus of, like, you know, he's young and he's talented and he's gorgeous. And so he's just off chasing his muse who might not be his person. And, you know, he failed her. And so, but it also gives, like, a really fun, like, way to potentially like fix that later on. So yeah, but Hadestown definitely influenced things.
Yeah, I love that soundtrack, and if y'all want to listen to it, it is on YouTube. The whole soundtrack is. And Eurydice, I'm totally blanking on who
they're
plays
dating
Eurydice.
in real life. Like,
are they?
Yeah.
Okay, that's adorable. But I love her. She is such a powerhouse. I love her voice.
I am deeply obsessed with Patrick Page at this point. Like it's a little embarrassing because he's got this like really deep bass as Hades. And like, and there's the song, the second chant. He's just like talking about like how to keep a woman, how to keep like Persephone, but it's like, but the way that he's describing it is very much Hades learned my lesson. Like, you know, put a chain around her throat and like like a necklace, but like, you know, fill her pockets with like rocks or whatever. Well, it's sexier than that, but it's just it's that vibe of like that vibe was very Hades and Meg too. So
I'm into this. I need to go to YouTube.
It's also on Spotify too.
Oh, there we go, right there.
It's so good.
I have like a small 2-part question. Okay, I've asked every other author, what's your sign? 1, and 2, would you ever like? I know you're really into retellings. Would you ever like do a series involving the zodiacs?
Yes. I would love to do zodiacs and or tarot cards because I'm super into tarot too. Sign. I am Pisces Sun, Cancer Rising, Scorpio Moon.
You are not a Pisces Sun. What's up, girl?
Yeah.
What's up, sister?
Yes, Pisces. I'm like right on the cusp of Pisces and Aquarius, like February 19th.
Ooh, February Pisces. You guys don't get all the psychotic shit that is Pisces, March Pisces do, so.
Yeah, but we're like the weird. We're like weird ones. I feel like I have a lot of that like Aquarius energy at times, or it's a Scorpio moon. Like
Scorpios are sexy. It shows in your books.
Yeah, I definitely like since getting more into astrology. I'm like, oh yeah, like some of the kinky shit that I write. I'm like that makes sense with the Scorpio moon. Like, yep.
He's a Scorpio, and she's a soul snatcher, if you will. What? You stop playing. She's acting shy now. Listen,
I'm wholesome, child. I'm wholesome.
I've never met a wholesome Scorpio, so
right.
Listen,
exactly.
my husband was a Scorpio, and my sister.
We exist.
She's like at the beginning, she's like, I don't have an icebreaker question.
No.
Right.
Wholesome. Try wholesome. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you. She's like, I'll fuck in public, but oh no, I won't talk about it now.
She's like,
She's like, I'm leaving the chat.
Oh, you even got a vein up. Taima, don't
right, exactly. See? Everybody knows.
4K T, you caught in 4K.
B came through with the icebreaker question.
Look at it. Hush.
Hush. Oh. All right.
Okay, that was my final question.
Does anyone else have any other questions they would like to ask before we wrap up?
I don't think so. Just once again, like, I really appreciate your vision because there is just your mind, honestly.
You make this hoe very happy. Like,
Yeah.
it was hard for me to find someone that matched my freak level, and I think Hoe-Athon came out of talking about the Wicked Villain series.
Oh, really? Oh,
yes.
wow.
I think it came out of Desperate Measures, right?
Yeah. Yes. And we were like, I wish there was like a readathon where we could just like hoe out and just be like freaky as hell on the TL, because I'm like, Katie's the only one that matches my freak level. And then we're like, well, what if we did? Like, we never envisioned you would even like give us the time of day. I know.
I was so excited, like watching the Hoe-Athon be like put together and like the prompts. And I mean, immediately I was like, oh, I'm going to do it. And then I wandered off because I'm awful at prompts. But like, it was just so awesome to like watch the people read, and like just the sheer audacity. It was great. I loved it.
Yes, audacity. Write that down, Nicole.
I'm writing it down.
Audacity. I love that.
Prompt for round two. Audacity.
But like the vibing up is so, that's why like these days now, that because I've been writing for like almost 10 years now, is like I'm like baby authors or like newbie authors or everybody authors, like you should just like write your shit and like do it with and ask forgiveness, not permission, because those are the books that those are the books that are going to get you the most hate, but they're also the books that are going to get you the people that like will vibe with you the hardest, because when you're not holding back and trying to be like likable by everybody, that's when like the magic happens. And I mean, sometimes you misfire, but for the most part,
honestly, like if your name is on a book, I'm buying it.
I'm buying it. That's it.
Buying 100%.
I have backlist to read, but at this point, if it has Katee Robert or Kat Taylor on it, I'm buying it. That's it.
Period.
That means a lot. Like the level of trust in that. Thank you.
There's definitely going to be a round two.
Would you like to be another Thot-O-Nomics expert for round two when we do that?
Yes, absolutely.
It's a date. Yay! We'll bring the chains and everything. Don't you worry. We'll provide all the toys. Yes.
We'll provide. You just got to show up. It's fine.
That's it.
Oh, I love it. Love it. Oh, yeah. So RM was saying up here, Taima's specific question where you did other icebreakers. It's what's your favorite sexual position?
What? No.
Busting you out.
Listen, I am a basic bitch. I like doggy style. Like,
damn, right?
Doggy style is not basic.
Is it not?
Right. No.
It feels like that's everybody's favorite. Like, or maybe I just hang out with the right people.
That's because it's so good.
Basic.
That's because it's so good.
So good.
Mm-hmm. Like there are levels to that shit.
Right.
We like doggy.
Content creation should be what you really want. Oh, yeah, exactly. Because like then that way, that's how like as like a content creator, that's how you get Uber fans. Is like that you're like hitting those id list buttons. It's like your id list matches my id list, which means there's a level of trust there. Like with like me and Sarah Simone, like she'll write some shit and I'll be like, I don't think I'm into this, but like I trust you because everything I read by you, I like am very excited about, even if I didn't think I would be. And like that trust is like downright magical. Like on both ends. Like when people are like, I didn't think I was into this kink, but I think I might be into it. I'm like, I am so humbled. Thank you.
Me with every book you've ever written.
Yes, exactly.
Literally.
Especially with the daddy kink though. I wasn't into daddy kink before you. So
I keep finding new like depths to like explore with that, like with the various kinks that I'm like, I didn't think I was into this, but like I think I might be into this, and at least fictionally. And it's like, what, somebody out there will be with me, so let's do it.
No, my friends, I've had friends that have read Desperate Measures. They're like, I learned a lot about myself reading this book, and I didn't know that I knew this. And I'm like, yeah, baby, keep reading the series. You're going to find out some more stuff.
Well, and like that series, like it was either right after Desperate Measures came out or right before. Somebody had like asked me like, oh, when are you going to write like a man loving man book? And I'm like, like eventually maybe, but like I would rather write like women loving women because like I like women, and men. And it spawned this whole thing on Twitter that was like people like popping out of the woodwork to be like, that's disgusting. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I'm going to feed the story through so much to one point when you get to the end, you're going to be asking me for it, which was like my goal with Aurora is like, you're going to want her story so bad. You're not going to think about the fact that you might maybe not be into like, women loving women. Or you might. Yeah. So
that's the next one I need to read. And I'm so excited because this whole time I've been like, I need Aurora. I need Aurora. I need Aurora. Mm-hmm. Especially since in general, Maleficent is like my favorite villain anyway. So like, I'm like, I need this.
Yeah. They were so much fun to write. Like, the dynamic between those two was like a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. I do have one more question. So Wicked Villains is about like Disney villains, obviously. Would you ever consider writing a Tiana Facilier?
That one I would be a little hesitant to just because of like the cultural elements of like voodoo and stuff. And I don't know that it's my place to tell that or that I could do it properly without like potentially causing harm. So probably not. But I hope somebody does because I want to read it. Because like I loved him as a villain. I was like,
yes,
like he's kind of scare me, but I'm like sort of into it. Like, so I would very much love somebody else to write that who like should be writing it, and because I want to read it, please, someone.
If you're listening,
please, we have a request.
Yes,
we're begging. Throats willing, knees bent.
Bend the knee. Yes. No problem. It's not a problem.
Hilarious.
Alrighty. So if no one else has any questions, we're going to wrap up. But Katee, again, thank you so much. Loved talking with you. And thank you to my fellow hosts. I love you.
Yes,
thank you so much for having me.
And to everyone who was watching, thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.